everybody, Peggy here, back again with another video. It's been a hot minute. Again, oh my God, I think I said that last time. It's like we were out of town on vacation, so we're back now. This video, I'm going to show you guys how to work with custom templates. It's not as hard as it sounds. It's actually really easy. I'm just going to get right to it. So sit back, relax, and I'm going to change this camera so you can see what I'm up to, and we'll get started. So templates. Templates are pretty easy. When you're quilting or doing designs or doing stuff, you can pick up rulers. Special rulers. This is a special ruler. This comes as a set. Where's the other one? There's the last one. It came in a little pack. It looked like this. You didn't have to do anything special. It just has 3 pieces. It has that one, and that one, so that you can, like this one here, actually this one here, I've got a bigger bit of fabric out here. So for these kind of templates, what you would do is you would find your piece of fabric. You could just line it up. You can mark your fabric and then cut it by hand. Did I bring over a white? I got a little one. You can, I'll be right back. I'm not even going to turn off the camera. I've got everything I need except for the one. I've got 4,000 pencils over there. Okay, so you can take a template and you can just line it up. When you get these plastic templates, you can literally just line up your fabric. Should have started with some, I should have prepped ahead, but I never do. I never think to. Then again, I like to give you guys an idea of just how much time stuff really takes. It's kind of frustrating for me, at least, when I'm sitting down to follow along, and I realize that they have already done all the prep, so I don't have an idea of what that can cost for time. So basically, with these, hold it down, try not to let it move. Do a couple of sides. Trust me, I've got a point to this. Don't get impatient. Bring it around, make sure it stays lined up. I'm going to show you a new toy that I got too. And you just cut. There's a few different ways you can work with a template. I'm working with this one right now, just to give you an idea of how it looks. So you can just grab your fabric and start cutting, and voila! Now I've got a 6-sided piece to work with, and I can do whatever I want with it. So that's pretty basic. If any of you guys have watched other sewing videos, you've probably seen these types of toys in action. So this one will help you do hexagons of any size, and I found this. This was actually the insert of some package for something that Lisa got way back when, and it's actually, I checked the size, it's actually the next logical size up. So I've got 3 real templates and 1 homemade. And there is a point to this. There is a point. Okay, these are triangle rulers. These are actually stuff that I've got in, you go to the store and you're like, oh, if you get this, you can get this as a bonus and stuff like that. So you can buy templates that'll basically do anything you want. That's absolutely not a problem. What you can do is you can cut your pieces out one at a time if that's what's convenient for you. You can come through and you can mark. This is actually fun. So you can cut 4 or 5, as many as you're comfortable cutting, all at once that you think is going to be reasonable. And you can come through, you can make a mark, you can make your marks on the front or the back, wherever you feel it's going to be the most. So you can either stack up 5 or 6 pieces of fabric and then cut directly, but if you don't have the fancy tools, you can just mark it and then stack up 2 or 3. If you stack up 2 or 3, then, put a pin in to hold everything, keep it from moving. 1 pin, 2 pins, whatever works for you. Cut with really sharp scissors, you're good to go that way. So that's a basic 2-minute tutorial on why people, no, well, on what a template is. People use templates to get some precision in what they're doing, which makes a whole lot of sense. Some people, I picked this up recently. I've got a couple of projects that I want to work on this winter. And with those projects in mind, I thought it would be useful to have this. This is actually, for those of you who are already into sewing and want to move to the next level, this actually spins, which so far I have been finding it pretty helpful. So if you were going to use that, you would put your, now you can use this to mark as well. You can use these for anything. There's no rules on how this has to go. And then you would just go, do your cut, and instead of rearranging everything, it's apparently better. Apparently you get better precision cuts. Anyway, so the reason why you want to use a template is because you want repeatable results. You want to be able to do a project where everything is, if I want to do a project and I want, what size is this? If I do the full size one, yeah, if I want a project using 3-inch triangles, then using a template helps me make sure I get those 3-inch triangles. That's just really all it is about. Quilters, people that are actually, I mean, I'm still a beginning quilter, so I'm not going to call myself a skilled quilter, at least not yet. But people that are really into precision quilting will almost always have a template. Now, why do you guys want a template? You guys are going to want a template because you're going to want repeatable results. You're going to want a shortcut to make things a little quicker. And that makes a lot of sense. So there you go. Now I've got, the reason why I cut off the edges, by the way, if you're actually paying attention to go to shop for templates, is that I already know that when this comes with the edge being cut off, you have to trim those points off anyway. So there you go. You have a repeatable piece. That's what these are for. So you can do this, because if you're just going, if you are going to sit here and you are going to go, okay, I need this to be 3 inches, so I got to go this. Okay, now I need to find my angle. I need to get the right angle. You will be here for hours over a single piece. That's what templates are for. Okay, so what we're doing today, and I'm not even ready for this. I'm going to pause for a minute. I'll be right back. I've got to go get some stuff. Now that I have this stuff out of the way, I'll go get the other stuff that we need so that we can actually do something today. Okay. So I gave you guys a bit of the bum's rush getting through templates, who, what, when, where, and why. Main reason for that is because I wanted to give you an idea of, I wanted to remind you guys, in case for people who may not know or whatever, that templates exist. They're a thing. People use them so they can get repeatable results for precision sewing, so that if they want everything to be the same size, and it also helps with precision cutting, and it also helps with doing things quickly. Instead of just going, okay, I'm going to measure an inch, then then an inch. Instead of doing all that shit, you just, oh, this is the template for this. Boom, 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 you're done. You can either mark and then cut, or you can use them as a straight line and do your cut. Okay. Now, the reason why I think that custom templates are a good are good for beginner projects are because of one word, and that is the word wonky. So I'm doing a quilt. We'll get to this. I'm doing a quilt this year, and for this quilt, I need 10-inch pieces. I'm gonna do them. I want to use up a bunch of scrap because that's just how I roll sometimes. So what I want is I want at least some of my blocks to be consistent. Now I'm probably not going to have them all be consistent. Like if I want a 10-inch block and I just want to sew that. Let's just go really slow because everything's all messed up. To that. If I want to sew these three together and then cut out a 10-inch piece and call that my block, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I am making just a nice generic hang around the house quilt. But what I want to do, what I decided that I want to do is I want some of these blocks to be patterned, to be intentional. But I also don't want precision. Basically, the quilt that I'm making, and I'm probably going to show you guys different sections of it as I do it. I like to call rustic. As I get further down the line and start showing you how that part goes, I've got a couple of other smaller projects that are going to use basically the exact same idea. So when we get to that, I'll be showing you some stuff and you'll have an idea what's going on. Hopefully we'll be making this quilt together over the winter. Anyway, I want some consistently designed blocks, just a few, maybe half a dozen to go into this quilt. Now, don't get me wrong, this quilt is going to be probably 60 inches wide by 70 inches long. 7 times 6 is 42 blocks, and I'm probably only making half a dozen of these, but I want them to have some consistency in the shape, even if the fabrics aren't going to be consistent. Okay, so I've taken the cardboard from a bolt. Whenever I can, I ask them if I can have the cardboards. You can use a cereal box. You can use whatever makes sense. You can use scissors. If you have a I've got more than one rotary cutter, so I can afford to take a risk. You just get in here, and I'm just going to cut it and get started. So now I've got a piece of cardboard that I can work with. So this is going to be wonky. The idea here, if I can find my pen, the idea here, I'm doing 5 sides. I'm going to do a 5-sided piece, and then I'm going to cut it out. Now, using cardboard for a template is not a problem. People, I don't know if people get concerned or not. You've got 2 ways to make a template. You can do what I'm going to do now, or you can just do it out of paper, stack up your fabrics, pin the paper on top, and then just cut. Maybe what I'll do, you know what I'll do, is I'm going to do one this way, and then I'll do one just out of paper and show you guys the difference, because this is going to be pretty, not specific, but, so anyway, I do not want this to be level, even. I want, okay, one side can be here, one. When you are doing something wonky, this is why I think that this is perfect for beginners. When you're doing something wonky, you're doing it intentionally off center, off whatever. Wonky just means not straight. So, 2, okay, 3. I'm just going to do it. You'll see what I mean. Now, if this starts looking too symmetrical, I'm probably going to cut off a corner somewhere. 4, 5. Okay. So, actually, maybe I'll just turn that a little tiny bit small. Don't be afraid, and don't be afraid to like do these, redo these. Don't forget, the idea is when you're using this as a template, like the way I'm going to be using it, having it a little, I'm going to take that to there instead. There. And it is still not straight, which is what I want from this. Just follow along. It'll start making sense. So basically, I've started with like a 7 or an 8-inch piece of cardboard. That's for this. So now, and like I said, I'm lucky here. I'm not sure. Basically, what you can do is you can go through. Of course, it's not going to work because yeah, you can do this and then just do that. Cut it part way and then snap it back. You don't have to get it. If you're using a knife, just draw your sharp knife down here, fold it back, and then just flip your knife. Come on, is it going to go? And then just cut. It'll come right off. Anyway, okay, so I'm making my template. This is obviously, if you're going to use this as a template for sewing, keep in mind that it's not going to last forever, whereas those other sewing templates, the plastic ones, they can literally last for years, okay? So that's really important to remember, is that if you are going to use this for a really intense, in-depth project, if you plan on using them more than once, like maybe you want to make one, maybe you're making quilts and you want to make one for every one of your 400 grandkids, or kids, or nieces and nephews, or whatever. Okay. So, at this point, This is a project you can get the kids to do. Let them cut their fingers. I mean, yeah, we would never do that to a child. Okay. So I got 5 sides. Now, if you're using your imagination, it could look like a funny house. I'm debating on bringing that in a little bit. I'd like to start a little bit smaller. So when you're making your own template, there are some rules actually. If you're going to make star shapes and things like that with points that are, if you're going to make a shape, if you're going to make a shape like this, then you will have to go back and look up. You'll have to. I think I'm going to try and do. I'm going to try and do a video that shows you how to work with these types of shapes. These types of shapes where they have points and then dips, they require a special process to sew them. That's why I just went across the top, and I'm just going to do it like that. So these are for slightly more basic. This tutorial's for slightly more basic shapes. Yeah, I'm going to go in just a little bit more because do not worry if your template is perfectly straight or not, because when you're working with cardboard templates, there are some special rules. So set your template over there. We're actually doing pretty good. Now I'm going to use I'm going to grab this guy. Actually, maybe I'm going to start all of these guys with the same centerpiece. You can do whatever you want at this point. I'm going to be right back. Okay, so I've taken a couple minutes. So far, my off-screen prep time has been about 5 minutes, and I just realized this isn't ironed, so I'm going to take about 5 more minutes and go over there and get the ironing done. I've always found that it's a lot better to iron first, so I will be right back. Okay, guys, I'm back. I'm back. Took about 5 minutes to iron. One thing, too, is if you're working with scrap, the time that you take to iron is a really good chance, because there's going to be loose threads on everything. Anyway, so I'm looking at this, and I'm noticing that I really like the idea of having this particular fabric as my center. So I just kind of spotted this as I was ironing, so I decided to just go through. So technically, what you want to do, I want all of my centers to be most of my centers at least to be this fabric, or a really dark fabric. So you turn your fabric over. Because you're working with scrap, figure out which side is the narrowest. Look, this side here is a little narrower. So if I were to have it on this side and line this up at the edge, then when I flip it over, one piece is going to be almost half an inch shorter than the other. So just fold if you're going to fold your fabric in half and do the things, then figure out which side is the narrowest. And I know that I got a really good rotary cutter around here somewhere. I'm going to do 4 at a time. So I am going to, because it's cardboard, you can't cut. You cannot cut along this if you're doing it in cardboard. Now, say you have a really helpful and useful spouse or partner that's willing to nip off to the garage and make one of these for you out of wood or plastic or whatever they've got, then you're just going to drop this down and you're just going to start cutting, and you're done. Now, I just line these up. I don't even actually have to right now, so I'm just going to mark my line. Now, yeah, it's working. I'm going to switch over to what I hope is a brighter color so that you guys can see it, though. Believe it or not, this is a strange tip to keep in mind, is that for some reason, blue, pretty much any shade of blue, will show up on almost any color. Don't know why. It's obviously anybody who's into arts and pigments would be able to answer that question in a heartbeat. As a matter of fact, it was Lisa that told me about this. It's like, well, if you use blue, it'll show up even on black. So I've already folded this, but I really didn't have to. Take your time. This is a heat erasable pen, so you just use it as Well, it's not a great line, but I think you guys can see it. So you just use that and trace. Now, because we're doing this wonky, this is the second part of this. And hopefully you'll have a complete picture by the time I'm done doing a little bit of this. So I want this to be a 10-inch square when it's done. Obviously, I don't want this to be a 10-inch. I don't want this to be 10 inches, obviously, or it's going to be a problem. So because it's cardboard, I can just trace and trace and trace and trace and just go. So it's an extra step. Like I said, if you've got a helpful partner or spouse or friend that is willing to make these for you out of a product, out of a material that you can just cut. So now I'm just going to go like that. I should have brought back over that little toy so I could take your time. Now, one of the interesting things is, say this line got a little wobbly. Say something shifted. So I'm gonna cut this line next because it's going to be weird to try and reach those two pieces, so I'll do them last. Let's say that your line's a little wobbly. Well, then line up your ruler where you know the corners were, where you know it's not like, basically you don't want to mark this stuff and let it sit for ever and ever and ever. You pretty much are going to mark it and cut it right away. So if something shifts, like say over time your cardboard develops a bit of a dip here, you're going to know not to cut along that dip. So da-da-da-da-da. Okay, so the reason why I like wonky templates, and again, I'm using scrap, so it's okay with me if a fairly high percentage of this ends up in the garbage, because this is fabric that I can't use for anything else, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it anyway. So now I've got 4 of these. The cool thing is that I don't have to be precise. It's already wonky. So if I do a few more, and for some reason my cuts are a little funny, nobody's going to notice, nobody's going to care, these are done, these are ready to go. Now, what are you going to do with them, you say? So this is where it gets fun. So, oh, and look at that. By the way, I forgot to tell you guys, these two face this way, these two face the other way. Can you see that? The long side are facing each other because I folded the fabric. So I cut one from the front, one from the back. If you are doing something wonky, I don't consider this to be a mistake because it's going to have absolutely no effect on what I do. But if you are concerned, then you're going to want to take all of your fabric first, cut it and stack it so that it's all facing the same way. This has got little witches on it. I'm making sure that the witches are upright, facing the same way. I'll do that. Then I'm probably going to, because if I do these, then I have 8 for my quilt. So if I do that. Now, because I've done half and half like this, I'm going to do this. I'm still going to do this so that I have half and half. But if this matters to you, then just make sure everything is facing the same way. Upright, facing the same directions, and then stack them up. And then they will all face whichever way you want them to. And because it's a template, you can change the direction of how it's facing just by how you lay out the template. And because this is a directional fabric, they've got little witches on it facing this way. I can also go like that. Yeah, you know what? I might do that. How are these? Are these? Nah, I don't think I care. Anyway, so how you lay your fabric under the template does matter. For your first few projects, if you're going to do something with this, until you get used to it, I would consider making the center a solid color, or a fabric that doesn't really have an up or a down. And again, that's more to do with what you do or don't want to do. So never, ever, ever try to do this. Trust me, your hand is going to slip. There is no way for your hand not to slip. That is just a rule of life. And you will end up 1, 2. Yeah, what am I doing over here? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm gonna put that guy upside down on purpose. I'm gonna do that on purpose. So I'm just gonna get the other 4 cut while I'm here right now. So again, this is gonna be, and I don't really care which way this stuff is facing. So I'm just putting it in. But that, again, depending on what you're doing and how you're doing it, if you care about how things are facing, then double check your fabric. And don't forget, if you're using this is a heat erase pen, which means, or you can use a pencil, or you can use chalk. You can come in from the front. You can come in from the front. Let's do it that way. Let's do it this way. Let's do it from the front, show you guys how that looks. So you can come in from the front and you can go, oh, I want that. And if it if it matters, you can do these one at a time. There's no, just because I'm doing 4 at a time because I want this to have a certain reckless look to it. Rustic. I want this to look rustic. Anyway, if you're doing it from the front, just use something like this is a chalk pencil. So I'm just going to come through. I'm going to try and, basically what you want to do is you want to hold your template. You want 1 or 2 fingers touching the fabric and just do that. You can when you're putting a chalk line, you can not hang on to any of this here as long as as long as you've got something at the top, putting a little bit of down pressure. Because if you don't have that down pressure, everything's going to just shift around, and you're going to end up with a mess. So, holding the template here, and my thumb is off the side so that I can keep it straight, keep it from moving. I'm going to go bottom to top here, so I'm going to have my pinky is down on this side on the fabric, keeping it from shifting. It is not some exercise in I'm going to go from the top down because my line's just not showing up very well. There. And now I've got my chalk line on the top. So if there's something that you really, really, really need, if there's something that, yeah, it's not a very dark line, but I can see it, so that's all that matters. If there's something that you really, really, really need to be inside your template, then you can do it this way. Just use chalk or something that just simply wipes off instead of something that has to wash off, or use a heat erase pen. And also don't forget, you're going to be cutting right along this line. You're going to be cutting right along this line, and it's going to become your seam allowance. So unless you're marking it with something that you think is going to leach color, then the idea that you have to worry about this is you don't have to worry about much. Anyway, technically, you shouldn't have anything ahead of where you're working, because if you slip, you're going to go right into it. I just like to live dangerously. Okay, where are we at? Yeah, I haven't made a video in like a while. There we go. Just looked inside my shirt, made sure my microphone is still hooked up. We had Northwest Tarot Symposium, which, by the way, I met a ton of you guys. Felt like a ton. It was a blast, though. It was a lot of fun meeting so many people. And again, if I decide, don't forget, this is wonky. This is intentional. This is intentional because if a line doesn't, if I'm trying to do this with a perfect triangle and something shifts, I'm gonna be pissed. I mean, if I'm trying to cut these to be like those triangles I showed you at the beginning, if I'm gonna try and cut those to look perfect, then I'm gonna have a huge, huge problem if they're not perfect. This, as a beginner project, is awesome because it is intentionally messy. It is intentional that I'm doing this. So if something shifts, I'm not going to be worried. I have watched videos. Everybody shows you things working out perfectly, but they don't tell you. If I'm trying to cut a perfect triangle, let me go get a perfect triangle. Let me show you how shitty this is. Okay, not shitty, but let me show you how this can be. Let me get my little triangle back out. Is that it? There's my little triangle. Okay. With this little template, I can make a 1-inch triangle. Okay? Now, don't forget, people go to fabric stores and sometimes spend $40, $50. It can, depending on what you're buying. it can be insanely expensive to buy fabric, which is not something I'm ever going to tell you guys to do because that's a bad idea. Okay, so I'm going to take these two pieces. I'm going to cut a flat line. You obviously want it to be, where's my other one? I'm sitting, okay, this is going to sound weird, but because I'm doing this, I've got extra toys. I've got extra toys and I'm lucky. But this one here, for some reason, for me personally, I can use when I'm sitting down. But the other one that I just had out, it doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't sit right. Okay, so I'm going to be all slick. And I'm going to, where do I put that line again? Yeah, I put that line right there between. So I'm going to make me a 1-inch triangle. Isn't that awesome? Okay, so I've cut this side. It's okay if the fabric shifts. I've cut this side. I'm going to bring everything around here. Not everybody has that little fancy turntable device, okay? I'm going to go across the top just a little bit. As long as everything else is in place, if this shifts while you're cutting it, you're fine. Now I'm going to go down here. Okay. Now, this is a 1-inch triangle. It's got the top trimmed off. Look how tiny that is, right? So, what happens if I come in here? I'm going to exaggerate so that you guys can see it on the camera, of course. What happens if I come in here and I go, oh, okay, that's where that line is. Okay. Now, what happens if I'm getting ready to sew these and I realize that I have cut half of my triangles. For some reason, something shifted and I've cut them funny. If I am doing precision quilting, where I need every single piece to be exactly 1 inch, then this piece is now garbage, and I may have ended up throwing away a couple of yards. Generally speaking, okay, let's be fair. Generally speaking, when you're working with this kind of precision, you're going to only cut 1 or 2 pieces at a time. 1 or 2 pieces at a time. But when you're working with something that needs to be a specific size, especially if you don't feel like you have enough practice or experience yet, it can be scary as shit to be trying to make all that stuff work. I just threw away a handful of fabric that other people could turn into mega stuff. I just don't have time, so that's my biggest problem. Okay. So I'm not shit-talking anybody who uses these particular things. These are great. These are awesome. I'm just pointing out that if most of what I'm doing here is really intended for people that are newer to sewing. And with that in mind, running out and doing this and doing 1-inch triangles as your first project is going to be very, very scary. Doing this, you can't, it's a no-fail project. It is a no-fail project because if something happens and one of these gets cut in the wrong way, if I come through and accidentally chop a chunk off one of these, I don't think anybody's even going to notice, to be honest. And yeah. And it's not going to screw up a specific design because there's really cool designs. Oh my God, you would not believe what's out there. This is not what you're trying for. Okay, I've over-explained this to death. Well, let's move on. Now, we are going to take one of these. We are going to make a 10-inch block. We've got several different ways to do it. I could just start sewing. Actually, I'll do one the easiest way. What's the easiest way, guys? You know what? The easiest way, if you're new, if you are newer to sewing, the easiest way is sometimes for some people to sew it onto a patch, which is fine. But sometimes the easiest way is to sew it on something else. So, actually, we're going to sew it right onto here. I'm going to take... You can obviously take a ruler and go 10 inches by 10 inches. I just happen to have my little fancy schmancy, so I'm going to do that. And I'm going to find, this is just a piece of leftover that I have from something else. Okay. That's fine. I already know exactly what this is going into. So the fact that this has a little bit of a funny spot up there isn't going to affect what it is I'm trying to make. So I can cheat just a little bit and keep that there. As a matter of fact, a matter of fact, I know exactly what I'm putting this into, so I'm not doing this. I'm doing something different. Okay, so what I'm going to do, that did not cut. Okay, I am going to do one. I'll do one like this for you guys so you can see it. So cut, be aware, be aware. Do you see that? This is what happens to the fuzzy stuff. If you're not sharing your space, then give your fingers a little lick. If you are sharing the space, then just get your fingers a little damp some other way. Little circular motions. You can do it. You can use a sponge for this too, obviously. It's just that I'm only cutting one of these. What I'll do is if I'm cutting a whole bunch of these, then I will come back with a damp cloth later. Not soaking wet, but I'll come back with a damp cloth and I will do a circular rub down, rinsing often because think of it like sandpaper and stuff. It just kind of gets all clotted up into stuff. So get that like that. Take your time when you're cutting this stuff because it's very stretchy. Now, what else you can do, what I should have done, is you can leave this longer. I should have done the whole piece. What you can do is you can come through. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do an 8-inch one here. So just to show you guys what to do. I'm going to stop flipping this stuff off the side here. I just knocked one off. I'll have to make sure the dog doesn't get to it. Okay. So what you can do, let's say I'm going to do an 8-inch. I just changed my mind and I want to make this a lot easier for you guys to figure out exactly what's going on. Cut a little bit more than what you need. You don't have to mark it if you don't want to, but I'm going to mark it a little bit so that we can all see it. It's not marking. Of course it's not marking. Okay, I'm not going to mark it, but we're going to do an 8-inch, okay? We're going to do an 8-inch, so that means I want my center to be 4 and 4. Is that about right? Let's just eyeball it and get it into there. So I want my center to be approximately here. This is a cool trick. You just lightly with your thumb. There you go. It's right where it needs to be. If you just put your thumb lightly on, it'll just slide right off the top. So this is kind of more or less in the center. You know what? I'm going to go for the 10-inch. But if you're going to do, if you want to have extra around the sides so that you don't have to worry about that sort of shit, then if you're going to do an 8-inch by 8-inch, cut it 9 or 10 inches, and then you'll just trim it all off later. What you looking at, puppy? Did you find it? There it is. Shayla was getting curious about something on the floor, and it was my piece of fabric. Okay. So we're going to move this over the machine. We're not going to agonize. You can turn it any way you want. Doesn't matter. I'm going to move these out of the way because if I keep knocking... Shayla likes to every now and again, if she can get a hold of a piece of fabric, she will chew on it like it's candy. So... where'd my other ruler go? There's another ruler. This is why I have so many rulers, because I put one down and can't figure out where I put it. Okay. So this is wonky. Nothing has to be the exact same size, the exact same anything. So I'm going to just cut some strips. Now, I'm just going to cut 3 or 4 because, why? Because I've got 7 other of these sitting off to the side. Okay, so we're going to save one to that. Put the others over here, start a little pile. I do not want, I've got a dark blue here that I might use. So color matching is weird. There's two here. I'm just going to cut a couple of these. So basically, ideally you want a straight piece here. And then however wide you want to make it is entirely up to you. I'm going to make this one wide. I'm going to put it there. You don't have to really, I'm lining these up because I already know that some are really significantly longer and shorter than the others. And we're going to go there. So I'm cutting up extra as I go just because I can. It's not the end of the world if I do. It's not the end of the world if I don't. Now this one, I'm going to go, the trick to doing this is to not try too hard. It's really easy to want to try too hard. These can go at an angle. We don't need to care. Let's do those two at an angle. Put one away for a different block down the road. Put one away for a different block. That one can go there. Okay. It's looking like a hot mess, isn't it? Well, let's see. Let's see. This is going to look cool. Now, this I'm going to save because it's longer. I mean, eventually I'm going to need one that's going to go, I'm going to need wider pieces as I get, they can be super narrow. Try not to cut anything less than about 1.5 inches. Once you get used to it, cut whatever you want. But until you get used to it, try not to go over about 1.5 inches. I'm going to save that for the next row out. Cut another one. Now you can, for these, you can do whatever you want. It's your project, it's your rules. You can start off with that in the center and then have the next row be all the same. You could have you could do that in the center and then have all of this be the next row all the way out and then put more of this around and then just alternate until you get to the side. There's plenty of ways that you can make this look. I might actually just do that. I have a really dark blue in here. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. Okay. You make the rules. This is your project. This is really that simple. I am trying to get scrap used up. I did iron everything. So it's not like you have to agonize about running back to the iron over and over and over again. Now, what I'm doing is I'm going this way so that this isn't being measured. Just to keep it random. If you have decided that you want everything to be exactly 2 inches all the way out, then obviously just go to 2 inches. Don't forget your seam allowance. If you want this to be 2 inches, you have to have a 1/4 inch on either side, so it'll be 2.5 inches. So if you want to measure them to a specific standard, then that's absolutely your call because this is your project. And then, So I am really trying my best to just grab whatever's convenient and not think about it too much. My problem when it comes to scrap is I start overthinking what I want to do with stuff that's just the salvage. I can't use it. I want that to be at a funky angle too, so we're going to do that. And then that's going to go there. Okay. Now, the next row, I'll probably cut the next row in just a minute. This is a little bit of back and forth, and again, this is back and forth because I'm using scrap and I'm cutting as I go. If you remember to turn on your sewing machine, you don't have to do it later. But anyway, this is simple. Now I kind of line these up the way I wanted them, so I'm just going to do that and that and that and that. I'm going to start with that one. So this has just been set there. I haven't done anything with it. We're just going to flip that over, and I'm going to be trimming this, so don't worry. And I'm just going to sew it down at a 1/4 inch. I am going to back this one up a little bit because now when you are sewing directly onto the batting, go slow. Take your time. Don't be in a huge rush because it can really pull the batting out of place if you do this. Okay, I'm going to back up 1 or 2. I'm going to cut it. Okay, so this goes like that. Now, sometimes, depending on what you're doing, you don't really care if there's extra fabric underneath. And if that's the case, you can just leave it. Otherwise, line up with approximately straight from here and just trim it. Now that one just went straight across. This one goes at a bit of an angle, so do that. And that's that piece, that's the first piece on. Do a finger press. And it's already attached to the batting, which means it's not going to go anywhere. Okay, this one, let me see, where was I now? Where was I? I was right here. Okay, this one is going this way. Is it still big enough? Why, yes it is. Double check double check and make sure it's gonna, you know, sometimes things shift. And again, I'm using scrap. Oh, I'm using scrap. Did you hear that snotty tone? Oh my God. How did I do that? Anyway, I'm just using scrap. So for me, it's no big deal. I'll just go get another piece of scrap. Sew it down. I don't necessarily need to backstitch every single one. That one was just going on weird, so I backstitched it. I am going to leave the excess. I'm going to leave the excess behind. This is just a loose thread. I'm going to leave the excess behind because this is kind of going to be a junk blanket, just for like, you know, wrapping up with in the wintertime, that sort of thing. Okay, wait, where am I? You know, that one, yeah, that one does go there. Okay, this one goes here. Again, I'm just going to line it up. Now, obviously, I don't know if you guys can see this or not. I'm not sure if you guys are seeing much. Let's get in here. Let's get in here and take a look. Now, obviously, there's a little bit of extra, so you're lining up to the center there. And just ignore that little tiny bit of extra because I already knew it was going to be there. Keep going. Do. By the way, kids, if you do this to about 20 inches, if you just keep going till you have a wonky pentagram shape in the center and about 20 inches all the way around, you've got a reading cloth as soon as you put a backing onto it. It stopped recording on me and I don't know when that happened. Okay, one last piece and my first row is done. I was just saying, I was just waxing poetic, telling you guys that if you do this onto a bigger project, like, about 20 inches, then you could have a really cool reading cloth when you're done. Because this piece in the center, you can try for something that's more symmetrical. You don't have to make it wonky. This is just a can't fail project. If you're looking for doing something that works with quilting, but you don't know where to start, this is a good place. So there's my first round. Let's go back over here. A lot of back and forth. It's just the nature of quilting in general. So if you're interested in quilting, keep in mind that this is going to be a big part of what you do okay, what I'm going to do later is I'm going to cut a whole bunch of stuff. This is how quilting works. I'm going to cut more of these, more of this. I've already got these. And then I will do my first row all the way around on all of them. Then I will go, then if necessary, I will go zap it quickly with the iron. And then I will do the next level all the way around on all of them. So because you don't want to be doing this depends on the project and depends on how you're doing it. I don't want to be here for every single thing, doing this over and over again. Now for this one, I get to cheat a little bit. I'll show you how this goes. I'm going to do this next round all in this dark blue that I have sitting here. So I am going to go at 2.5 inches. That's good. That'll give me 2 inches plus, I'm just going to go 2 inches. That'll give me 2 inches gives you 1.5. No matter how wide this is, take off a 1/2 inch for your 1/4 inch seam allowances because I lost a 1/4 here, but I'm also going to lose another 1/4 when I add the next piece. So always add about, whatever you're measuring, add about 1/2 inch. So what I'm going to do here, I think it's enough. This is just to simplify things. And I'm not going to do all of these this way. I'm just doing this one this way. Okay, let's back to the machine. Okay, here we go again. This one's a little bit weird. This is a little technique that you guys might enjoy. Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay. So this next one here, obviously I've got to sew here. So I'm going from here to here, right? So, and this is wonky. If I decide that I want to go like that and really fuck this up, it's fine. I love these wonky projects because it gives me, I don't have a lot of time to work on quilting and stuff, so I'm not sure if I'm ever going to have an opportunity to start doing the really, really precision stuff. But this looks just as good. When I'm in the mood to really put, not in the mood, but I showed off my dragon quilt. I mean, I definitely know how to color match and sort all that stuff out. But having the opportunity to, okay, so this is the end of that. So I kept track of where this finished off, okay? Gonna bring it back just the tiniest bit, a couple of back stitches, gonna do that. And then I'm going to just bring that like that, there it is. That just has to mark, that only has to go to here. Remember I went over, so if I go like that, I'm perfectly fine. I actually didn't pay attention to where that was coming out because I'm talking to you guys because you guys are awesome. Okay, so now this one, there's not really any way to perfectly match this stuff. So there's my lowest point. I actually have to bring it to here. Like I said, because I forgot to extend from here. So you're extending from here. You're extending from here to figure out where this has to end, and you're extending here to figure out where it has to go. Because this one came out a little bit too far, and I got but this was all me being distracted. It's not hurting anything though, because it's going into just a junk quilt that's only purpose in life is going to be to chillax and cuddle up on the couch. So we're fine. So I'm going to come across here now. And again, I know I probably brought this one out too far because I can see going here that I don't think I need to be out that far. One thing I like about these as well is if I screwed that up, I'm just going to have an extra layer of fabric there. It's not going to matter. It's going to get all covered up. This next piece is going across here. So when you know you're working with a single color like this is, you can just kind of go cut a longer piece and then just trim as you go. That's all I'm doing here. It does save a little bit of time. Like if that's what I go with for doing the rest of these, it'll save me a lot of time if I put in one row of black on every single one of them. Look, like this would have been a little bit faster than sorting out all those fabrics. So that's going to go to there. I'm actually done right about a little bit further, right about there. So we cut that. I'm going to have to go get a little bit more black. So we're going to come up here. And again, I don't care what this is doing. I care what this is doing. And you'll see it for yourself when you'll see it for yourself when it's you doing it for yourself. And you just bring it across. I've got more of the blue over there. I'm just going to have to go cut some in a second. But yeah, I like when possible. This looks like it's going to just barely fit. Yeah, it fits. It fits. We're going to bring it down there. Oh, maybe it doesn't. Let's see. Yeah, it fits. I'll use it. What the hell? What the hell? Okay. So I've got dark, light, dark. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. Okay. Dark, light, dark. Now, again, this is wonky. I can be a little careless. Because if this turns out, oh yeah, see, look. This is a little low. This is a little low. It needs to go to there. That's a little low. So I'm going to cut, my next piece is going to go like that. I'm just going to bring it in. This is a joy of wonky because you can't fuck this up. You cannot fuck this up. Once you get your centerpiece, you just follow the lines all the way around. Okay, if this was precision, where that needed to be exactly a certain amount, and now I have to do this, I would have fucked up the entire block. And this time it's going to be, nah, I just move it over a bit. It's fine. And this is what I love about doing this. Oh, the other one's already cut? It's already cut. Okay. Okay. So the other one actually turned out to be almost exactly where it needed to be, so I'm just going to leave it. Okay. So this one here, you just start there. You start down at the low section because I realized that it was low. Start down at the low section, put it, and then just angle it back to where it needs to be. Go across. Do. I should have done this a little bit narrower. See, and again, okay, if you're working with precision sizing and stuff like that, I call it precision sewing because quilting is a lot of precision. And when you're doing that, it is cut. Measure twice, cut once, measure 400 times, cut once, whatever. I can do that kind of sewing. I just don't have the time to do it, so I just don't. Like, it's very for me personally. For me personally, it's very time consuming, and back over here, guys, back over here. Okay, so there we go. Now look at that. As a matter of fact, you could turn it that way and almost imagine that it's a house. Isn't that awesome? Look at that. This wasn't looking so shit hot a minute ago. That's something else about working with scraps, is you really got to trust yourself that this stuff, it's an act of faith to believe that this is going to look good when it's done. It really is. I already got one of those. I don't want that. I don't want to repeat if I don't have to. Okay. So again, if I were doing this and then one fabric here and then one fabric here, I'd be done. I would be done already, just because I'm stopping to check out, I'm stopping to choose fabric at every step. So we'll take that one. And because I'm only doing a 10-inch block, it's not all that difficult. Yeah, that'll go there. That will go. Will it go? Did I just cut one I don't need? I think I did. That's too short. That can go on one of the other ones. That's fine. So I'm just going to go up this way and go, okay, I need it to be that long. Put a little tiny nick right there. Why am I putting a little tiny nick right there, you may ask? Because then I can take it over here properly. Ideally, okay, normally I'd be doing some of this stuff from over at the bigger table. I just do little stuff at this table, just if I need to trim something or do whatever. I keep the mat here so that I don't have to get up and down. But yeah, you just eyeball it, right? And then just, now something I'm doing is I'm trimming, I'm always going to trim this outside. It's really hard to tell, but this varies outwards by almost 1/4 of an inch. Yeah, it's bad colors. Maybe I'll grab a different color and do it again so you can see it. You always want to straighten up your edges, because if you end up not straightening up an edge and it gets a little bowed, it doesn't show up on these pieces. They're awesome. I love this stuff. Okay. That one fits there. Okay, so I'm going to cut another one because I know it'll fit on one of the other ones, and then that can go over there too. Okay. I'm allergic to pink, but let's give it a try. Let's see if the pink will fit. I'll show you again. Yeah, I'll show you again on this piece of pink. Okay. See this piece of pink? Let's get in a little bit closer. Can you guys see it better? Can you guys see that piece of pink better? Okay. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So I always trim up this edge. Look what I've got going on right now. This piece here, up at the end, right in the very corner of your camera, of your screen. Look how that's a wonky piece right there, and I really don't want to sew with it. And the beauty of it is, if you're already sewing with scrap, I started to say, if you're already sewing with crap, you don't have to care. So that's 3 inches. We'll do 3 inches. You can measure it, you cannot measure it. This is your choice. I'm just going to get repetitive because this is kind of a repetitive project. And like I said, what I would normally be doing is I would normally have, like, start the first one, do them all, then do the next section, then do the next section. So these, I would just be going, okay, I would be cutting for approximates, or I would cut this into a nice long strip and go, okay, that's for this one, set it aside. If I had this as a strip that was as long as this, if I were to cut this all the way straight down as a strip, then I can just put in what I need, trim it, set it aside for the next block. Put in what I need. Oh, didn't move the camera back, guys. So, like I did with the black, because I'm going to be doing 7 more of these, when I come back to this fabric, I'm just going to cut a long strip. Then I can just add my strip, trim it, set it aside. Then I'll grab my next strip, then I'll grab the next strip, add this, trim it, and if there's enough left, set it aside. So, look at that. Set that there, sew that on. I was just exactly the way I did this stuff. Only I would do one, set it aside for the next one. One, set it aside for the next one. Come on, what else do I have here? I have lips. I have lips. I have lots of lips. I have lots and lots of lips. Yeah, so I'm going to trim the edge. This is just called squaring it up. You'll find that you do this a lot when you're quilting because things just get pulled and pushed out of shape. And it's just the nature of how it goes. And also, if you're concerned that if you want these to be as straight as possible, then obviously you want to come on this side and do a bit of a measurement. I like them to be somewhat, yeah, so I'll show you this, because if I do this and then cut it, then I've got this piece left for something else. So I'll show you how that works. 1, 2, 3, I need 2 more. I have scales. Something else you can do is fold these in half. If you're going to fold it in half, then you line it up on the folded side, because that's already a straight line. Square it up. Come in again. This one's easy to be random about because you can still just line it up on the straight line and you're good to go. Whoop. Don't let it shift if you can help it. What's going on? There we go. So that's going to go there. Yeah, you get a chance to see exactly what I mean. Ooh, and there's oh no, I haven't used this one yet. This one's really pretty. I was almost going to do all my centers on this one, but I changed my mind. Okay. We're just going to go straight up here. Something shifted. It's probably just my cutter because I cut cardboard when I'm not supposed to. Technically, you shouldn't be cutting cardboard and stuff with these types of cutters, but I just do. I just do anyway. I don't care. Okay. And I'm going to come in to about here. Okay. That's going to go there. Okay, and as I said, normally, so it's actually overall, it's faster to do, it's overall faster to do several at once, like I said, because you can just go. Show you how this works. Let's go back to the machine. Back to the machine. There we go. Okay. And the good news is that if you are just cutting a long strip, I'll go in reverse order so you can see what I mean. If you're just cutting a long strip, then you also don't have to worry about double checking to make sure it's going to go in the same spot. Okay, let's go. La la la. Da, da, da. Fold it out. Now you can stop every now and again and give these an iron. It's entirely up to you. So we're going to go this way right now because we can. Since this is going off the edge and I know it, so I'm just going to take that little bit off because I'm going to be trimming it off anyway. Now we're going to come this way, show you how this is going to go. So like I said, if you're doing multiple of these, and I am, how do you save a little time? Well, I picked this one. I did not cut it to size because I do not care, because I do not need to care because I've got 7 more to do. Now, if you really like the fabric and you know you're going to use it in multiple places, you also should consider doing it this way. I'm just being a big baby and trying to avoid using the same fabric more than twice. I just went off the very edge, so I already know that I'm done. Done. Okay, so press it out. I'm at the edge, so I don't got to think too much. Go straight across. And this piece goes back in the pile for the next of the next one of these. Okay, what am I doing? That goes there. Is that the right one? That's the right one. That goes there. Again, I knew this one was going to be, I like to, when possible, cut these a little bit long because I am using scrap, and I'm going to say the word scrap like 4,000 times, I think. I like to go a little bit long just because it gives me more to work with and I don't have to worry as much. Especially, like I said, if you've got limited time but you're determined to get something done anyway, then yeah, this is, where'd the other one go? There it goes. Whoops. You go there. Okay, I'm gonna get this off to the side a little bit right here. I'm just gonna get this trimmed. I'm gonna be coming back to trim this properly once it's done. I'm just trying to avoid making, I'm making sure to avoid anything where the fabric's going to bunch up or do something weird where I can't do anything about it. So I'm just trying to be careful. Okay, these are already off. Normally I'd be going from like here to here, but this is already off the fabric, so I am going to be going from here to here. See, this is the edge of the, that's the edge of the batting right there. So that goes from here, and because that goes to there, it's actually only going to there. It's not going to be super huge. Okay. This is something you'll get used to doing it yourself very quickly. Like that piece of, that little bump there I could ignore because I know I'm going this way over it. You get used to that really fast when you're doing this yourself. Do that. See, that's gonna all come off. I'm just gonna give it a, I'm not trimming it properly yet. I'm just getting the worst of it out of the way so that it's not gonna get in my way. That's all. Okay, that goes to there. And yes, look at that. There will be some spaces left over to fill in when we're done, and that's fine. Okay, I gotta go from there to there. There's my lips, my little kissy lips. This one should, if no, it's not gonna go all the way. That's fine, doesn't need to. La 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 la. Okay, fold that one out. Oh, it went to, okay, this is cool. I'll explain that in a second. Okay, we're gonna go back over here for a minute. Now, I am going to line up. You guys aren't seeing this, you guys probably can't see this, but there's a very tiny bit of batting here, very tiny bit of batting here. I'm gonna line that up and I'm gonna cut this off. It's gonna be in the way if I don't. And I'm gonna be trimming it one more time. Actually, I may not. Let me get my square ruler out and see where I'm at. Yeah, nothing really shifted. Everything's still 10 by 10. So I am only trimming my edges. I'm taking a minute to do this now. I'm taking a minute to do this now because it's just what you do. There's a lot of double checking and trimming and stuff that happens. Don't let it turn you off of doing anything. And again, if I was doing 7 of these, I would be doing all of my trimming all at once and not doing these one at a time. So overall, you save a little bit of time. Okay, so now we're done to here. Now we're done and we're this far in. Okay, so now I've got to do one piece, one piece, one piece. This piece here, I can skip because of, now this is strictly because of the way that I'm going to be making this quilt. So I am going to leave that corner alone. I'm not doing anything more with that, which is fine. You're going to have to trust me and see that on a different day. And because I've got 1, 2, 3 to do, I am going to repeat fabrics. I don't want to, but I'm going to. Actually, let's go back over here. You know what? I could go. Yeah, I can just put that there. I can put that there. Come back with me. Actually, stay there. I'll be right back. There we go. That one's done. And because this is the finished edge, I'm not going to rough cut it with scissors this time. I'm going to do that. I'll do it properly. There, that one's okay because it kind of looks like it's supposed to be there. Okay, I don't want green on green. I want, ooh, that'll be nice. I can go, this little guy right here will not go to the edge. Oh, that happened. Okay, so where am I at? I am adding two more here. One here, one here. I don't want to go too crazy. I already did that. I already did that. That one's a tiny one. That one was small. Let's add a bigger one. Okay, so like I said, normally you would have a lot of things to choose from. Normally I would have prepared all this in advance, but I'm only doing one, and I wanted you guys to see what the prep time looks like. I have to let Lisa know that I talked my way through this entire... Okay, I know that this is going to be fairly wide here, so I'm going to cut this one wide, just because I can. Please be enough, please be enough. Oh yeah, it's enough. Okay. And you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it here and here. I really like the color, and I only used a little tiny bit of it already. I don't know. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Maybe I will overthink it. I'm allowed to overthink it. Anyway, let's finish this. Let's finish this. Hi, Bruno. What's my puppy doing? Bruno the puppy is over here. I'm just going to sew over here. Okay, that one went off the edge. That one went completely off the edge, so now I can cut that. And guess what? It doesn't quite look like it's the same. You know, it's the same colors, of course. So you can do these with, you can coordinate your colors. And I'm probably going to do one more right quickly on speed up. Oh, you know what? We've been doing those relaxing sew-alongs. So I think I'm going to do one next, showing more coordinated, showing the colors being more coordinated, because I still want these to look random. So one can be coordinated, one cannot be coordinated. I still want these to look nice and random. And again, you can put them in any direction or angle you want. Should I put this black one here? You know what? That'll look fine. And I'm losing most of that. I'm using a technique. I'm using a self-binding technique. So I'm going to be losing about that much all the way around. So I can have a little bit, I can have one last little bit of black in this corner there. Or I can have that. It's like, nope, that's not going to look right. I'm overthinking because oh yeah, I'm going to do that one. I'm going to use that one. Screw that, I'm using this one. Is that going to go far enough out? Yes, it will. Okay, I'm using that one. Be right back. There. And that one's done. Alrighty. Okay. Okay, that's done. And again, I already know, now, under normal circumstances, you would want to try and get that little corner covered up. But because of the type of quilting that I'm going to be doing, which you guys will be learning a little bit about down the road, what I'm doing some other project. Actually, I used the same technique for that tote bag that I did. I did a video for a tote bag. And I did use the exact same technique. See what happened here? Look what I did. Look what I did here. Look what I did. I had a piece right here. Didn't realize it was there. So I sewed it all down. That's okay. That's okay. This is all getting covered up and we don't have to care. I didn't even realize it was there till just now. I wonder if it was like a little flash of color throughout the video. So I have a finished. Let's move the junk out of the way. Let's move the junk out of the way. And there it is. So I'm going to go give it a quick hit with the iron. Now what you can do is if you're going to be storing these for later, then you can, if you plan on using it, if you plan on following along and using a quilt as you go technique, you can just sew right along the very edge all the way around to hold this down. Or you'll just want to give it a quick hit with the iron to hold this stuff down. And yeah, this is nothing. That's already gone. That's what it looks like on the back, but don't forget it's going to have a backing fabric on it. That's going to, you know, it'll be like this with a backing fabric. That's going to cover all that up. The good news is that when you do this, when you do it like this, you don't have to come back and quilt everything. They can just sew together and be done with it. You can just like sew it all together and then just sew down your edges or something, but you don't have to come through doing free motion quilting if you don't want to, because everything's already been sewn directly to the batting. So the batting has got plenty of stitching in it. It's not going to slump. And the first one is done. My first one is done. So there you go. That is a wonky five-sided design. You can do these in any shape, not any shape, square, triangle, but it has to be a shape with no interior angles. Once there's an interior angle, you have to use a specific sewing technique to put it together, which I am probably going to show you in a future video, in the not too distant future. But for now, this is what a wonky block looks like, and it's a great way to use up scrap, and it keeps you from, I can't even say it today. It helps you get a nice, usable, pretty block that looks really, really good, where precision is not a priority, so you can just focus on the sewing, the technique, the relaxing, and just getting it done. So this is going to go into the new quilt that I'm making for myself this winter, and you'll be seeing that soon as well, because I'm definitely filming at least some of that. And for now, like, subscribe, ring the bell, do the follow, do all the things, do whatever makes you feel good. I'm going to get going for now, and I'll be back with another video soon. Bye.